Good afternoon, wherever you are. And before we begin, I just want to take a moment to just look around the room and feel into the space that's here now. Feel into the intention that is here. And maybe notice how this intention is so much more into the foreground. Perhaps how we can keep this intention too into the foreground in every moment of our day. And so a deep gratitude too for being here with all of you in this collective space. And I know I say it quite often, but it's so true that I don't know if I would spend one day a month, 4 hours meditating if it wasn't in a collective setting. And so there's a deep gratitude for everyone here. And as always, today will unfold one session at a time, sort of. Each at the top of the hour, we begin the next session. Each session lasts about 45 minutes. The first session is a little leeway because I usually talk too long and I don't give the guest long enough time to speak. So if Amy wants to go a little longer, that's fine. And we want to welcome Amy Edelstein here today. Amy's been here since the beginning of this, which is going on 7 years, I believe now. She's been here probably more than half a dozen times. And just a very quick bio of Amy. She's done so many things in her life, a very fascinating life if you ever get to know her, and evolving and to keep track of her. And I think the best way to do it is just keep track of where she is now. And well, right now she's in Portugal, but living in Philadelphia, and has this amazing program called the Inner Strength Foundation, which today, it started 2014 from just maybe a half a dozen to a dozen classes. And I was in on that first couple years, but it's grown to 50 classes already, 1,300 students this semester, 8 schools. And it's a meditation program, and much more than that. It's actually gives a lot of tools and perspectives to the teenagers in the school to deal with their emotional trauma, their abuse, their poverty, everything. And she's even started a new program, building inner strength video program, I think it's called, where it's now going to every middle school and high school in Philadelphia, a video program helping the students with wellness, with emotional, social skills, activities, reflective questions. And I'm just amazed at the growth of this program in Philadelphia. And like all programs, it needs support. And I just wanted to also say that Jeff Carrera is going to have a virtual meditation on December 5th. And your donation will go to this Inner Strength program and to the wellness program, this new building, Inner Strength. The only other thing I think I want to mention is for more information, to sign up for a monthly newsletter, her podcast, and to learn learn more about our program, go to the Inner Strength Foundation. That retreat information will be there. We'll also send out a chimp mail notice for all of you guys about that. It also is on Jeff Carrera's website. So with that, I just want to welcome Amy. Thank you for being here. If I left out something that feels important, please add it there. And if I got something a little wrong, please correct it. But again, thank you for so much for being here. And you can unmute yourself and share.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rick. Rick has definitely been a Dharma brother to, or uncle to, the students in Philadelphia. I know we're starting a day of meditation, but I wanted to start to speak a little bit about the context of our times, because we're always meditating in a specific context. We're always meditating at a specific time. And there's a surrounding around us that even as we're letting go, and even as we're tapping into that primordial nature of life, that positivity, that web of consciousness and intelligence and goodness and positivity that's prior to the happenings of the world, we also are in part embedded in time and space. And I appreciate that everyone on this meditation may be in different countries, different parts of the world, with different things going on in your lives. But it's been a hard time for the last 6 months since the beginning of coronavirus. There's been a lot of fear. And there's also been a lot of recognition that there are structures of our cultures, whether we live in Italy or Spain or the UK or California or Florida or Philadelphia, that don't work for many, many of us. And so we're holding our meditation. Within our meditation, we're also holding the need for a lot of change. And in the midst of the instability of the pandemic, we're also recognizing that we need to create some positive instability. We need to unearth and bring to light many of the foundations of our cultures and institutions that were built on inequity and harm, that the legacy of that unresolved negativity is toxic to our culture. My students and I live in the middle of that in Philadelphia. 2 weeks ago, we saw a 911 call for help for a mental illness breakdown, a call for an ambulance result in the death at the hands of police. Then we saw riots, destroying property, creating fear. My students live in those neighborhoods. When I'm in Philadelphia, my house is downtown and I hear the drone of police helicopters overhead day after day. It's tiring. We're happy that America has elected a president that is sane, grounded, caring, regardless of whether you agree with his politics or not. But the dis-ease that big country has exhibited has created unrest for all of us, regardless of where we are. It's a time now to use our meditation. It's a time now to really allow things to be in order to access that primordial goodness, in order to shed the reactivity, the fear, the aggression, and the mistrust. Those of us who are privileged to have come across meditation in our lives, and personally, I started meditating in 1978 and never stopped. It was also a time of social upheaval and unrest. And those of us who've been privileged to have found these tools of inner discovery, unity, connectivity, positivity, and optimism are called on to root there ever more strongly. We need light in the world. We need kindness. That's not a naive and superficial kindness, but that comes from a profound compassion, a profound sense that our well-being is intimately intertwined, that we can never cause harm on one side and have it not come back on the other. And that the more goodness and kindness we bring into the world, the more we get uplifted. We discover that infinite capacity for care and love and compassion and joy and happiness in meditation. In forums like this, where we get to sit together, we can experience that sense of updraft and uplift. And I invite you and encourage you today, of all days, to really allow that sense of goodness to permeate in the cells of your being, to really feel your own spirit and body and mind and emotional life absorb that sense of goodness. Sometimes we have to work to open up. Otherwise, it ends up being a little bit like pouring water on very, very dry soil. When you pour water on very, very dry soil, it runs off. You have to till the soil, you have to aerate it in order for it to be able to absorb. We are like that ourselves. So if you've been in a period of sorrow or sadness or isolation or fear, it hardens us a little bit like that soil. Use the time today to aerate the deeper parts of yourself. Use that time to make some room for replenishment, for joy, for ease, for love, for gratitude. You know, so many of us have lost dear ones or are worried about dear ones because of the pandemic. We close ourselves off just a little bit. Use the meditation today instead to open on the mystery of life and death, the mystery of how we transition out of this life and into a mystery that we don't know yet. Hold all of that with a lot of care and a lot of compassion and a lot of love, because the more we reflect on the mystery of death without demonizing it, without holding it at bay, we start to appreciate the miracle of life as well, and that current that seems to connect one to the other in a way that we can't explain, regardless of our belief system. Allow your meditation today to open up these these mysteries and imponderable questions, and allow yourself to open up to the stream of life in the way that our life transitions. And then appreciate the preciousness of being here, and let that appreciation, that gratitude, give rise to a sense of joy and wonder at everything around us. The sun or the rain. It was pouring this morning when I awoke, sheets of rain coming across the water, and now the sun is out. Both are miraculous. We have periods in life of incredible challenge, and that challenge can show us what's most important to us. That when it comes down to essentials, what we really care about is goodness, is kindness, is that really profound embrace of the life process, even in the midst of so much harshness and cruelty in the world. My work with more than 15,000 teenagers in one of the poorest cities of the top 20 largest cities in America has shown me, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that we have to speak to and teach to and see wholeness and goodness in those whom we come in contact with. And then we see delusion, we see suffering, we see trauma, we see fear, we see the actions that come out of that. You know, the Buddha, when he decided to teach, he said, I'll teach for those who have but little dust covering their eyes. Dust being ignorance or delusion. And we want to approach those in our lives, those on the news, those we demonize, those we cherish, as other individuals with the same capacity, the same essence of goodness and love and consciousness that we have, who have a little dust covering their eyes. We want to reach through that film of delusion and ignorance and harshness and cruelty to the essence of our universal humanity, that universal life essence, which isn't really limited to people. It permeates all of life. Yesterday, I went to an archaeological museum, by chance, actually. And I walked in and they had artifacts from between 40,000 years ago and 24,000 years ago. And it just it caught me by surprise, and there were tears in my eyes, because that sense that 40,000 years ago, there were early humans in this area who were making tools, who were doing things, who were living life so very long ago. And somewhere there, human curiosity and love and connectedness and culture has grown over the years to ours. I felt this amazing connection over generations and generations of time. And I just saw how very limited my own view usually is. Those people in my life right now, or the past decade, or my family, or 400 years of history. But I felt at that moment the living presence of 40,000 years of human culture in this place. And I felt the sense of our own continuum, whether you believe in a continuum of spirit or you just believe in a continuum of ideas that transverse generations. We're all so profoundly connected. What we do now comes out of the momentum of many generations and pushes a momentum forward. So as I said before, those of us who are lucky enough, grateful for the privilege of being able to access the mystery meditation, let's send out those ripples into the future of oneness, wholeness, goodness, positivity, stability, generosity, security, compassion, and deep, deep care. We don't really know what the future is going to bring, and we don't really know how everything is going to unfold. So we want to live this moment, this meditation, the next day as we awaken from this day of practice to the best of our ability, no more and no less, dealing with ourselves with the same compassion that we want to extend to those we care about or those we feel are hurting, not seeing ourselves as separate or less than in any way, really coming to a profound recognition and awakening to the oneness of humanity, including ourselves. So we can spend the rest of this time in meditation. It's a joy to be together. And I think Rick will be able to watch the time for us and sound the bell when we finish. So in the meditation again, let's really allow ourselves to absorb the goodness, have no limitation on what's possible, have no limitation on what's going to come out of this, and access that joy and goodness that exists when we let go of fear and anger and separation. And we can sit now. Keep allowing yourself to let go. Keep noticing that subtle joy that begins to arise in your experience, and allow that joy to carry you without trying to understand it. Allow yourself to trust. Allow yourself to meditate your own meditation. And allow the tension and insecurity to fall away as gently as a flower opens in the sun. Allow all sense of self and other, ignorance and illumination to dissolve, so that your mind and whatever your conception is of consciousness, awakening, illumination, or love merge and become one. And in this last section of this meditation, let's dedicate the fruits of our practice to ease and well-being for all, to the alleviation of suffering and the dawning of health and ease throughout the planet, and to balance and harmony throughout the cosmos. Thank you, everyone. To good health, be at ease. Sending you all very much love.
Thank you, Amy. And we'll be back at the top of the hour for the next session.